Seminars. Today is a very special day. My plastic patty friend Sandro is having a birthday and he hates this kind of stuff, which gives me more pleasure to do this. So it's his birthday, and I thought we'd open our mics and start off today wishing and singing Sandro happy birthday. So open your mics. We got Sarah there. I see some familiar faces. We see Olivia, Therese. I see, Marion, John, people there. Open up your mics and I'll start it off. On your mark, get set. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sandro.
Happy birthday
to you.
Thank you.
How many claps, Sandro?
Thank you.
Sandro, how young are you?
Do you really have to do that?
29 and holding, right? 29 and holding. All right, a big happy birthday to Sandro. He's behind the scenes. He's in front of the scenes here on Healthy Seminars. Those in the Chinese medicine profession see him posting stuff about acupuncture evidence and his TCM Around the World Facebook page, and he's just everywhere. So to Sandro and his 3 clones, we want to wish you, all 4 of you, a very happy birthday today. All right, let's get started with our webinar. Today we are going to be with Debra Betts, and I just want to,
just let me mute everybody, and then you 2 unmute again.
Okay. All right, this is the first of a new series on Healthy Seminars called What I Wish I Had Included in My Book. For those that have published books, and even those that are in the midst of writing your books, you're aware of how much time and energy goes into creating this masterpiece, the book. And by the time it's published, there's such a delay from writing the book and publishing it that you already have new ideas that you wish you could include in the book. However, it's a lot of work to go ahead and update a book as soon as you release it, even years later. So the idea is to bring on speakers and authors to talk about what they wish they included in their book now that it's published and they've learned more, they've been teaching, and they're getting feedback from you saying, did you mention this in the book? Or what would you say about this? And so that's what this series is. So we're kicking it off with Debra Betts. And so her textbook is The Essential Guide for Acupuncture in Pregnancy and Childbirth. I recommend if you're treating women during their pregnancy with acupuncture, this is a great textbook to have in your practice. And Debra Betts also has several courses online at Healthy Seminars. So you can go to her bio page and you can just see there are several, and she keeps adding to this, some with her and some she co-teaches, but that is available on the site. And also we'll be having more of these authors coming on. So the next one that we have listed here that's scheduled when you go to this page, Rebecca Avern is going to talk about what she wished she included in the book. And this particular topic will be about teenagers. And Debra and I are talking that she's got a few more. So I think the next one, although it's not listed here, as we do this live webinar, it's going to be around July 23rd. So you'll keep getting reminders. We welcome you to ask the questions that you want Debra to talk about. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And just a quick reminder that if you go to our resource page on Healthy Seminars, you can jump to the presenters from this page, by the way, from the homepage. But if you go to the resources, you can see what's happening. And today we have What I Wish I Included in My Book by Debra Betts. And the replay will be available on this page for 48 hours. We're encouraging community, and we're encouraging people to actually watch the content we put out. Therefore, if you want to have free access, your options are to come to the live webinar and plan accordingly that if you don't make it to the live, that you watch it within 48 hours. So later today, the replay will be on this page, and 48 hours later, it will disappear. And so if you want to have access to this for free, this is how you get to do it. Come to the live, interact with Debra and any of the speakers we have here. And if the time zone doesn't work for you, then please do make sure you come back to this page and watch it within 48 hours. And I think the page is healthyseminars.com /wish. And this is where we're going to have this series of what I wish I included in my book. Can you guys please bring up the disclaimer? I just want to remind everybody, and if we don't have it, that's fine, I'll say it verbally, but just a quick reminder that this is you guys are on the ball. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing that. This is for educational purposes only. If you have a health condition, please seek out a healthcare provider. Again, this lecture is for educational purposes only. Debra, what do you wish, and you got to unmute yourself, Debra, what do you wish you included in your book? And I know you got a couple of questions sent to you from our listeners. I'm here to listen and to find out, if you're going to publish your book today, what would you have added to that book?
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Lorne, for creating this opportunity. This is fantastic. So this came out of a conversation about we're always getting questions and what you could have updated. We're really hoping the idea here is to have it as a really short, digestible piece of information. We're going to keep this to 20 minutes and 10 minutes of questions, and it goes on and you just send in your questions. It's all anonymous and no question is unwelcome. So what I'd like to do now is screen. The question is really about breech, and I get lots of questions about breech and lots of things that obviously need discussing and that I could have explained better in my book had I known what people were going to be asking or doing. So I wrote the book very much from my experience and practice and my experience of teaching midwives, and then I suddenly realized that there were things I could have explained a whole lot better, or things that have changed over time.
Debra, your screen. Okay, great. Your screen sharing now.
Now, so the breech. There were a couple of breech questions. These were two, but there were several in one question. So, what is the success rate of using bladder 67 with breech, just by itself, and then some things around ECVs. So the first we'll go through both of these, but the first one I wanted to deal with, which I think is so important, is the success rate of breech in your clinic. And we know what it is in the studies, but they are not in clinical practice. And there's all sorts of things around the timing and how many of the compliance of women that I think doesn't translate into clinical practice. And the most important thing for us is really about what we see in clinic. And I've sort of, if I could go back, if I'm going to rewrite, I would really add some sections in my book about data collection from clinic, because I didn't really realize that people wouldn't be doing this or would have questions around this. And I just think it's very important to actually look at what is happening in your clinic, and then you can start to do reflective practice and think about, what's actually happening. So it's pretty straightforward, really. And I'm just sharing with you the data collection from last year's community clinic. And I thought that might give you an idea of the sort of things that you can collect for yourself. So I'm going to show you what my success rate with breech was for last year, and sort of encourage you to start up your own data collection. So it's as simple as setting up an Excel sheet. And where's my little thing that I can move on? Here we go. So basically, you can see there that I've taken out the personal things, but obviously you want, when people come and see you for a breech, you want to know, I just enter them in the database so that I can follow them up. The things I'm interested in is when people present, because in the studies they all present it, they do it from like 35 or even 34 weeks, as that's when they actually treat these women. Whereas that's not the case in clinic. We've got people turning up at 37, 38 weeks, you can see there. So I want to know when people are turning up. It is important, I think, to know whether they're having their first baby or whether this is a subsequent baby, because there are, in the literature, you'll see there's different rates, and it's thought there's different times. It might be easier for women with subsequent pregnancies for their babies to turn. So you want to separate them out. I'm kind of interested in how many times do they come and see me. You'll see there it's mostly once, and then they tend to go away. So that's kind of interesting for me. Maybe I need to work on that a little bit more if I want to bring them back. And then the compliance. So that's what I'm really interested in when I follow them up. Did they actually do the moxibustion for the time that I ask them. So I'm asking them, as is in my book, I'm asking them to do it for 10 days, every day, 20 minutes each toe, because that's, to me, is the most success rate in the research. And you can see there that I'm trying to record. Some of them were followed up by text. So when you follow people up, it's not an ideal world. And I've found that now people don't always answer their phones. So then you end up texting them, and then you end up emailing them. And then they don't always answer your question, and they don't always tell me exactly how many days they did the MOXA for. They just say, yes, I did the MOXA. And then I want to know if they were planning ECV, so I can get that on intake. And you can see there's a mixture. And then obviously I want to know how many babies turned. And then I've got a little comment for notes, just because they're, unlike research studies, people's lives are complex. So it's not perfect, but this is just the basic data collection for breech when people come in. And so then what you can do at the end of the year is then you can take that and turn it into a nice little chart. It gives you a bit of a clue. So here we go. Here's my success rates from last year. I had 13 women present having their first babies. You can see there that follow-up, I got all of them. So sometimes you're going to miss follow-up. It's just inevitable. People move, they refuse to answer your call. I mean, I do it 3 times and then I give up. So try and call them, send them a text, send them an email. Other than that, you're starting to I feel a bit like I'm stalking them. So if they get back to me, I all follow up for the breech, which was good. And what I've got there is 9 of those babies turned cephalic for the first woman, and you can see for subsequent babies, 2 turned. So that's quite interesting to me. So I think that this is actually, I was quite, with the first-time babies, I was very pleasantly surprised with that, because as you'll see in the comments, some of these babies were coming late, and they weren't the ideal 34 weeks. And that's, that's close to 70% success rate is what you're getting in the research when they're doing it earlier, 70 to 80%. So now you can go small numbers. And honestly, if I had one more baby in each group, that changes the percentages dramatically. So it's at this stage, it won't be till I've got like 5 years worth of data that I can really start talking about, feeling satisfied about what the success rate is. But it gives you an idea of what's happening, and you can dig a little bit deeper and see what is it actually saying? Well, I'm kind of more interested in. So of the 7 babies that didn't turn, this is what we had. 2, their waters broke before they had an ECV or before their due date. So they had to have a cesarean section. So that happens in breech babies. One of them was told that she had the baby wouldn't turn because it was too large. It was 99 percentile, 36 weeks. One went for a scan and they said, whoa, this baby's not doing well. We're booking you in for an emergency or for a C-section tomorrow. And she was taken into hospital because the blood flow was compromised. One had a short cord. So when she had her C-section, they told her the baby would never have turned. And one had a previous C-section. She did the MOXA for 3 days, and then she just decided that she was going to have another C-section. So I would say that was quite a good rationale, which means that I have one baby in there that, I might have been expecting to turn that didn't turn. So I think that's quite interesting. And then the other thing is, in terms of gestation, 10 women actually came between 33 and 35 weeks, which is around about what the research is. 7 of those turned. That's quite good. That's about what you'd expect from the research. Bearing in mind that you only need a couple of women to change that either way. 6 women came at 36 weeks. 50% of those turned. And then 1 came at 37 weeks that didn't turn. And the one that came at 38 weeks did turn. So that kind of leads into that next question about, is it too late? If they've already had an ECV, should you try? So if you're still getting babies that are turning at 38 weeks, which we know from clinic does happen, but I want to keep more track of, I'm really happy to tell women to come in, let's give it a try. Because I do have, that idea that babies have turned. So statistics are, they're only like a little flavour, because basically the numbers are still small. but 18 women, 20 women a year. I would really keen for people to collect data and put it together, because then we'll get more of an idea. But for your own clinical practice, I'm happy that I'm getting some compliance. I'm happy that that we're getting the sort of results I'm expecting. And what I'm doing in clinic, which comes down to, what else do you do? I am cupping their back. I am doing things like looking at increasing amniotic fluid for those that that might be not happening for. I am looking at emotional aspects. I am assessing the woman and giving them at least one acupuncture treatment, and that's quite varied. But I'm sending all of the women away and asking them to do the Sebastian for 10 days. And you can see that on my website. I've got information about that. And then I want to come back and just keep track of what's happening, and if I need to change practice and what's working and what's not working. So coming back to these questions here, so I'll keep this short. Can you continue Sebastian after failed ECV? Yes. However, I'm not expecting the results to be, it may be that you do have a lower success rate, because the babies that would have easily have turned, there might be something there that makes it more difficult. So, and the ones that I had last year, there was a woman who'd had a previous ECV and the baby didn't turn. So she had an ECV, and then she came to our clinic the next day, and she was the one with the short cord. So yes, I do it, and I'm really interested in tracking what happens with those babies. The patient with the scheduled ECV has done the 6 days of Moxa. I ask women to continue for 10 days because I've had too many cases of the woman stopping the Moxa and the baby turning back. However, you can see from my follow-up that yes, some people did it for 13 days and some people did it for a reasonable, at least a week. But for other women, they stopped. So they did it for 5 days. The baby turned on ECV and she was really happy and she stopped. And she went on to have a lovely home birth. That's, again, keeping records of who's actually following up and what they're actually doing. And some women I don't know yet. They didn't actually reply to me how many days they did it, which says to me that maybe they weren't that compliant. So a patient has a failed ECV and comes to you for last resort. Can we help? Yes, I think so. And it's not only the Sebastian, it's around your acupuncture treatment and treating her at that time. So I do just want to, I'm not going to go into the details of treatment in my database because it would just turn it into quite a mammoth session. I'm happy that I'm treating the woman individually according to her TCM constitution. I'm trying to bring the women that I think are really tired and exhausted, that are really emotional, that have a lot of sore back or back problems. I'm trying to bring them back for more than one treatment because I want to get on top of that. As you can see, some women, we can't make them come back. And that's something that I would like next year's statistics to reflect a bit better, is that women were having more treatment. And I want to try and stress to them how important it is to tell me how many days they did the Sebastian for my own interest, so that we can look at that. So I think that's a great question. I would encourage you all to actually look at what's happening in your clinic. I sometimes come across people and they're saying that they use one special point or they do something interesting and they get a good success rate. But when I ask them what their success rate is, they really can't say. From the research, we should be expecting it if they can come at 35 to 30, 34 to 35 weeks and do the Sebastian. We should be expecting this, 60 to 70% success rate. 50% of those babies are going to turn anyway. So if you get a 50% success rate at that time of gestation, then that's just what happens in that population between 34 to 36 weeks. 50% of the babies turn. And then we don't have the research for after that. So I'm really interested. Maybe this Sebastian is more useful to those women who are 37, 38 weeks, where the spontaneous version rates are much lower. Well, we don't really know. That was in terms of using moxibustion on them. So, but they're thought to be, it's much harder for those babies to turn time. So I think that might be something that's really worth thinking about. Okay. And so I'd say we can definitely always help, and that it's just useful for you as practitioners to keep track of what's happening. Okay. I hope that's useful.
Thank you, Debra. We can stop sharing this screen. So we'll have the group on here. I have something at the very end, so stick around, everybody. But let's do a few questions. We'll do a few minutes of questions and comments. Comments about if more of us share data like Debra is doing, then we can really, it'll help us show the world our results. And I think research will come from that. If you're starting to see anecdotal clinical results, that often encourages people to want to do a study on that. One of our RN midwives, acupuncturist, many titles she has, says that the current Williams obstetric book, it's basically the obstetrics Bible for Western medicine, added a chapter about external version and breach, version and breach to recommend moxibustion and acupuncture for breach, which is a big deal for.
Yes. Can I just jump in there? I was going to say the British Obstetrical Royal College guidelines now, since 2017, have recommended breach. They say moxibustion may be used. And so that is great for us. And we should always, those recommendations mean that you can, definitely that should be on your website. Definitely that should be in your literature, that this is what you can do. And that's why this is becoming something that we should be putting our hands up for. And I'm very keen that when somebody says to you, like a midwife says to you, what's your success rate? That you can just say, look, it's, well, I'd be really interested to talk about that women are actually presenting beyond what is happening in the research, and that some of these babies are turning, and I'm tracking it. And I think that's what we can do that sounds really credible.
Clarification, Debra, are you suggesting 20 minutes for both feet, or 40 minutes for both bladder 67 points in total?
20 minutes for each toe. So that's in my book, and it's on the website, and that is based because of the study that I think has the most credibility and the most success was the one that asked the woman to do it for 15 minutes. So I asked them to do it for 20 to make sure they do it for 15. And please, you can go and check out the website. It's about getting compliance with the woman, about making little containers that they can put there close to their feet, about using smokeless moxa. You've got to get compliance for these women about how can they do this for that amount of time.
So you said 20 minutes per toe, so 40 minutes in total?
Yeah, or they can sit there for 20 minutes and do both toes, so that you can get, you can make them to make little moxa holders, and that way they can sit down for 20 minutes and do that.
Good idea. Are you just cupping if pain is the issue? What a question mark. What if a baby?
Oh, right.
I'll just
sorry.
say that two-part question.
Yeah.
So you want to know if you're cupping if pain is the issue, and what about if a baby has growth restriction? Do you still do a breech treatment with moxa?
Both of those things are. I want to make sure that the back is free, because there's ligaments from the uterus that attach to the back. The uterus doesn't just sit there in the middle of a cavity, and your pelvis, it's attached. So I want to make sure that there's one of those theories is, that if the back is tight, that it can help twist or strain, which might make the uterus not in the best, relaxed enough for the baby to turn in the best position. So I want to make sure the back is free, and that's why I'm cupping the back and treating any back issues as a primary cause. Yes, you really want to make sure that the amniotic fluid, if there's not enough amniotic fluid, how is the baby going to be able to move well? Also, it might not be making enough amniotic fluid because it's not in a great state. And you saw that in one of my examples in the clinic. The reason that the baby was breech, and this does happen, is because the baby's not well enough to turn into the correct position that it should be in. So this can be a muscle tone thing, and Sarah's had a lovely story about, Down syndrome baby. I've also seen one with Turner's, where the baby, obviously, there's something there that stops it from turning. And that's why I don't think you're ever going to get 100% success rate. Some of these babies are not turning because they can't, or because there's physical strictures like that short cord. So yes, except I'm adding in moxa to stomach 36 to increase amniotic fluid. And certainly you do see that. That's why I always ask women, because that's been measured on their scans. So if their fluid's a little bit low, number one thing is to get more amniotic fluid there. And I can put in a plug for Claudia, and in her book, she talks about getting women to hydrate with fluids, not necessarily water, miso, coconut water, to help them hydrate when they do, before they do the moxa on stomach 36. So all of those issues come back to that treating the woman as a whole person.
Debra, do you think their body position is important? Some practitioners recommend elevating the hips as an example.
I leave that up to the midwives, and I leave that up to the woman. And it's something that sometimes I make a note of, because you have women and they're doing the handstands every day in the swimming pool, and they're doing the ironing board exercises, and they're doing the spinning babies exercises, and they're really going hardcore. And some women are just, well, not really. That's up to them. It's supposed to be helping, gravity to help the baby move around. Tuck its head down and flip over. I haven't seen anything that convinces me that the women who do everything are the ones in my head that have better success rates. What I would see it's happening more in clinic now with a couple of those women last year, they got quite sore because they were doing the spinning babies exercises, and it was actually creating pelvic pain issues. So they backed off. Obviously, we treated the pelvic pain as well, but I think I leave that up to them. If some women, it's just a really good positive thing to think about what they're doing. And there are lots of lovely things they can do. Like I said, handstands in the swimming pool, getting a little light and shining it where the baby is, and then asking it to move around. Some women play music to the babies, but they start off where the head is and then move around to say, come on, baby, come on, turn around. So anyway.
Debra, if a woman has a scheduled ECV partway through the acupuncture moxa treatment, do they continue either side? And if it turns at the ECV, do they continue for the full 10 days, but at a reduced 10 minutes per toe?
Yes, so that's what I recommend. And again, this is in my book. I say that I get them to do it for the 10 days. If the baby turns, they keep doing the moxibustion. They just cut down the time, because it's quite a hard ask for them to do it for 20 minutes a day. And that is because I've had too many babies turn back once the baby's turned. So it's the same as an ECV, and certainly I've got cases from the midwives where the woman went and did the ECV, the baby turned, the person in the ECV room told the woman to stop doing the moxa, and the baby flipped back. So they had to start the moxa again. So yes, I say keep doing the moxa to make sure that the baby is in a good position. Now, a good question there I can see that came up is about moxibustion for transverse. That is a little bit of a different story. So you do, as part of your data collection and your assessment, transverse is a little bit different, because often these babies are moving all the time, flipping around like crazy. I'm a little bit more suspicious that they're not going to tuck down into a nice position and stay there. Provided there's nothing medically concerning, then, because like polyhydramnios, and the baby can't settle down because there's just too much fluid, or there's another problem with the baby, and that's why it's not adapting, a cephalic or a breech position properly. It's keeping on moving. I am happy to try that, but I do want to dig a little bit further and check there's no medical reason for that, or that people aren't unhappy. Sometimes women have been told you need to have a cesarean, and they're trying to come to you because they don't want to. But actually, the safest thing is to help them prepare for a cesarean, because there are issues there with that baby or that pregnancy. So transverse, I think it needs recording as separate, because there could be some underlying issues there. To me, same as if the woman had a breech position. Sometimes you see women and they've had 2 breech babies, and you sort of think, wow, is there something happening in that pelvis, that the shape is not great, and those babies want to be breech. So there is assessment there as well that I think as practitioners we need to take into account.
Debra, thank you very much. So Debra's book is called The Essential Guide to Acupuncture in Pregnancy and Childbirth. And again, we are doing another one. We're going to do a series of these, what I wish I included in my book. Debra's going to do another one on July 23rd. So go to healthyseminars.com/wish, and you can send in your questions, and Debra will address those questions in the next webinar. I also want to let you know that we already have another What I Wish I Included in My Book author. Rebecca Vern's going to talk about, she wished she could have included more information about teenagers. So she has a book called Acupuncture for Babies, Children, and Teenagers, and she's going to talk about why teenagers need a different approach. That's on August 13th, so sign up for that webinar as well.
So Lauren, I just answered two of those questions that were quite important that came up. I know we're running out of time. One is, and it is in the book, if there's anything like a transverse baby or any underlying medical condition, you need medical clearance before you do the MOXA. I hope I made that clear. Those are a little bit special. So I would not do that unless I actually was certain that the medical caregiver was happy with that. And in terms of the sharing the data sheet, it's just an Excel sheet. I'm hoping that people do take those headings and start up their own data collection. We encourage it in our MAMPS group. So yeah, I think data collection can be really useful.
Good.
Sorry, Lorne, I just wanted to deal with those.
I think that's great. And then also Debra has courses on healthyseminars.com, so check out her courses. I see so many of Debra's good friends here that do a lot of acupuncture obstetrics here, and I'm seeing like Sarah Buds here and Sharon Weisenbaum and other good friends, Susan Minnick, and then
it's great, guys.
Here, and I wanted to, again, so we created a video as well for today. So if we can bring up our video, and again, guys, check out the healthyseminars.com/resources for our for upcoming webinars. And let's
Sandra, what is today?
I have no idea. What is today?
Do you know who we are? We're your secret admirers here to wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Sandro.
Happy birthday, Sandro.
Just kidding, it's us.
Surprise!
Happy quarantine birthday. Staying at home but having a blast on your quarantine birthday. Rocking that party hat and your homemade mask. Trinity cut happy but 6 feet of room. Sanitized hands and a party on Zoom.
Can you hear me? You need to unmute.
All your friends wish they could be.
Hi, Sandro. Wishing you a very, very happy birthday.
Hi Sandro, happy birthday to you. Another year of wisdom, and may you have many more.
Hi Sandro, wishing you a very happy birthday.
Surprise, happy birthday.
Hey Sandro, hope you have a fabulous birthday.
Happy birthday Sandro, hope you're having fun.
Sandro, my mate, happy birthday. Hope you have a wonderful day and a great year coming up.
Happy birthday, Sandro.
Quarantine to quarantine. And of course, with my glasses on, I want to wish you a great birthday, Sandro.
Happy birthday, Sandro. Woo woo.
Birthday greetings from Massachusetts.
Happy birthday.
Hey Sandro, it's your birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday.
Happy quarantine birthday.
So we have a longer version where people's messages aren't edited down. We edit it down because we know most people only have less than 2 minutes of attention. So if you go to Sandro's Facebook page, you can see, I don't think we put the long one up there. Let's post that one on his page now, Lorianne. Now we'll put that one up, the longer version. I just wanted to say thank you, Sandro. It's your birthday. It's the evening where you are, and you gave up going out and catching COVID at a bar to be with us instead and to moderate this webinar to make this happen smoothly. And this is why you're so awesome. You're here and supporting your profession and your friends. And so we just wanted to acknowledge that it is your birthday, and we so value your dedication to all of us. So thank you very much, my friend and my colleague. Guys, take great care. Debra, thank you again. And we'll see you guys on more of What I Wish I Included in My Book. So look for more of these webinars from Debra and other authors. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. And again, thanks for tuning in. Take care and happy birthday.
Yeah, and send in your questions. And thanks for tuning up, guys. It's lovely to see everyone.